Hello guys, Daniel Learmouth here. You might be wondering why there hasn't really been a stream for a couple weeks, or why there hasn't been much of anything on the channel for the last month. Well, to put it simply, I've been goofing off. I figured I'd update you on a few things for now, so I'll go over a few topics that I'm going to talk about in a few moments. Firstly, I'll be talking about equipment, then I'll be talking about streams, and then about the next project, and finally I'll be talking about recent pickups. So let's start off with the equipment. This is the part where I'll go over what I'll be getting very soon and on top of what I have, and I'm going to start with the camera. I have, as of Wednesday, taken ownership of the Sony a6400 with an 18 to 50mm f3.5 to 5.6 lens. It is the camera from which the video for this update has come, as you're seeing right now. It cost me £950, which is quite the sum of money. It's the most I've spent on a single thing in my life, I'm fairly sure. My 980 Ti probably didn't cost much more than half that. This thing will enable me to kill two birds with one stone. I've always had an interest in photography, and even though I've never had the right equipment for it, I think I might be able to get somewhere with this. Also, I recorded some test footage in low light, both to see how it would handle awkward lighting conditions, as well as to test the touchscreen focusing. I suspect in poorer light it doesn't quite work perfectly, but if I can improve the lighting somehow, I imagine I might be on some pretty excellent B-roll. There will be a few other pieces of equipment that I will need to get in the coming months, however. The first of these is a tripod, or a monopod such as what I was looking at. I'm opting for a monopod as a compromise between stability and setup footprint. A tripod in this room is a bit of an ask, which whilst I don't have to worry about that with a monopod. There won't usually be much of anything to cause any instability either. There's not really much air or any drafting going on here. I'm looking towards getting the iFootage Cobra 2 Strike, which will suit my needs just fine. The only downsides to it are that I will need to get a fluid head separate, but iFootage make one that works well enough for what I want. I'll also want an extension too, because it's a little bit too short without it. There's probably a few other things that I would want to get, such as a microphone for the camera, but on the whole I'm not really looking too likely to get too many things for some time, because the camera has kind of gutted me of all my money. So to summarise, I now have an A6400, I'll be getting a monopod, most likely the iFootage Cobra 2 Strike. I'll also be getting a fluid head a little bit later on and a monopod extension, and there will be a few other bits and pieces like a microphone on the camera. Now to talk about the whole streaming thing. At the risk of sounding like a lazy bum, I'll cut to the chase. The streams will be on hold for a little while. Originally, I had decided I would stream games alongside recording the footage, now that I have the datapath capture device. After a bit of trial and error, it definitely seems to work. But sitting down and spending a couple hours streaming isn't all that ideal to me, for some reason. I suspect it has something to do with the game selection as of recent. None of the games I've streamed so far make particularly great streaming material. There's only really so much value in watching me stream a game like Wipeout to an audience that likely has a limited interest in it. Now, this isn't me saying the streams are going away and will never come back. I need some sort of steady trickle of content whilst I work on my long form review content, and streams are really the most convenient way to go about it. As such, I'm going to hold off on streaming games for the time being, and I'll bring streams back for the Halloween episode, and if you know me you can probably guess what I'm going to cover. I'll also spend some time to try and spruce up the stream somewhat with some custom assets. I might even splash out on a stream deck if I feel so inclined. But again, that's coming much later. We'll see. So in summary, the streams are on hold. I'll make them look a little bit fancier, hopefully, and the streams will be back for the Halloween episode of Retro Import Review. You can probably assume that based on the streams that I've done so far, it will be about Wipeout. There will have to be a little bit of a rewrite, however. Why? Well, let me explain. You most likely noticed that I played a few hours of Wipeout XL, the sequel to the original Wipeout. The idea was to not do a review of the original game, or rather not just a review of the original game, but to do a review of the two sequels, Wipeout XL and Wipeout 3. It would have been done on a weekly basis, so on the 25th of September, the first game would be reviewed, followed by XL on the 2nd of October, and Wipeout 3 on the 9th of October, to round it off with a compiled version of these reviews releasing on the 16th of October. It sounds a little bit ambitious for a person like me who struggles to keep on top of things, but had I planned things properly, I would probably have achieved it quite well, actually. But to explain my main problems, all I need to do is use a clip from a Pick-a-Me stream to explain the problem.
I had a lot of time to prepare this, but I didn't. I'm so stupid.
Yep. Firstly, as I explained, I'm bad at keeping on top of things. I've always worked with bursts of spontaneity. I don't plan things, because if I want to do something, I'll do it. It's because of this that I've never really done well with work that has required an extended period of time to complete. And also why I didn't finish the top 25 list from a couple of years ago. As it is, I will have to cut back massively. Uploading on the 25th of September will just be the review for Wipeout, and there won't be another review until the Halloween episode. And again, you can most likely guess what I will be covering on the Halloween episode. I am nothing if not laughably predictable. So, now on to what I recently bought as far as games go. This was something I was planning to do every few months, maybe on a quarterly basis, considering what I do here. However, because of the prevailing circumstances, I've had to slightly change my plans. I haven't been out to buy games since the very start of March, so I haven't had many purchases since then. I'm basically relying on a Facebook group to buy my games. When things return to normal, I'll be making a quarterly addition to my channel where I talk about my recent pickups, but for now, I should go over what I bought recently. This is a set of 4 games that I have bought from an importer on Facebook. All 4 of them are PS2 games, so we'll start off with this one, Zettai Zetsume Toshi. In America it's known as Disaster Report, and in Europe it's... I don't remember the name of it. It's something that I think would be interesting to cover considering Japan's geological weirdness and the nature of this game being about natural disasters. And I won't mind trying other games in the series if this turns out to be pretty good. Next up, Maken Shao. I've played a little bit of this. It's a third-person hack-and-slash game developed by Atlas, and it plays weirdly. It's tricky to get to grips with, but I'm very interested in covering this at some point. It looks like I could get a bit of mileage out of this. Next up is Tourist Trophy. It's basically Gran Turismo but with bikes. Like, straight up. Most of the tracks in this game are from Gran Turismo 4, and the UI is mostly the same. It's still pretty good, though. None of what I said is a criticism, because Gran Turismo 4 in particular is one of my favourite games, so flattery. And lastly is Zero. In America it's Fatal Frame, and in Europe it's Project Zero. I'm going to want some more horror games if I'm going to cover these on Halloween, and I think this might be a good start. J-horror is so effective generally, and Zero is something of a classic in a way. Once things turn to something resembling normal, I will finally be getting on with collecting more games. Because one thing I have missed this year is being able to go out to events in Leeds and Doncaster and even Nottingham, Manchester and Birmingham. It has been too long. That's an ice cream van. As it stands, however, I'm not short of games I could cover. There are a ton of games in my collection, and you can see the majority of them in my VG Collect list in the description below. I suppose I should wrap this up now. I've gone on for a fair while, so I'm just going to end it here. Do you like my camera and the footage from it? And do you think it's already an improvement? Let me know, because I sure do. Before I go, I have something I want to talk about. I left it to the very end because this is the thing that could date the entire episode here. Basically, on Wednesday, it will be my 25th birthday. Had it been my birthday under normal circumstances, I would have gone out for dinner somewhere, but circumstances are very much not normal. Because of this, I'm going to be streaming on the Wednesday whilst drinking some whiskey or something. The question I'm asking you guys is, what should I do for streaming? My main options are covered in a Twitter poll that I've left at the top of the description, just for the avoidance of doubt. My options are, I could have some sort of casual chat with you guys, or I could play one of my import games, just whichever one. Or I could play with my friends, like a game of Super Fight or Cards Against Humanity. The last time I checked, playing something with friends was in the lead on the poll, so if I can wrangle my friends into playing with me, I'm sure it will all go well. It's not something that I do very often, playing games with my friends, so I'm sure I could make something out of this. When life gives you lemons and all that. That's it for now. There is another thing, but I'm not prepared to discuss it right now. I'm just going to keep it under wraps until it's ready to be revealed. It'll be a venture into something I'm not familiar with, but again, discussing that can wait until it's ready. For the time being though, if you have any suggestions on what games I should cover in Retro Import Review, please let me know. My VG Collect list is in the description below, and so is the Twitter poll that I mentioned just a few moments ago. With that in mind, it has been Daniel Learmouth. Sadi.